Hello, friends. I am here to read you chapters 30 and 31 from Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's library. We'll just play one bookshelf, said Kyle. Because we're on a team now, right, bro? Said Miguel. Right. Plus, we don't have all day. Well, said Akimi, technically we do. In fact, we have the rest of today and tomorrow until noon. We've got like 19 hours left, said Miguel. But Charles and the others, said Sierra, they could beat us. Right, said Kyle. After all, he is a Chiltington. And according to Sir Charles, they never lose. Miguel, you're the newest member of the team, so you spin first. Miguel rubbed his hands together, limbered up his fingers, practiced flicking his index finger off of his thumb, and made sure he had a good snap and follow through. Would you hurry up and spin before my brain explodes? Pleaded Akimi. No problem. Miguel flicked the plastic pointer. It whirled around the cardboard square, decorated with sunburst of 10 colorful triangles. Booyah! The triple zeros. General knowledge. So that's this one. Hi, Marv. That's not so great, said Kyle. How come? You get to move 0 spaces. Oh, bummer. Akimi shot up her hand. Yes, said Kyle. Do we really have to spin and count spaces on all that junk? We have a deadline. Clocks everywhere are ticking against us. Maybe we could just pull a pink card, suggested Sierra. It's really not how you play the game, said Kyle. But we're not really playing this game, Kyle, said Akimi. We're playing the other one, the big game, the one with the ginormous prize. I have to agree with Akimi, said Miguel. Fine, said Kyle. It's against all the rules, but pull a pink card. You sure, bro? Just pull a pink. Miguel quickly sorted the new deck into 10 stacks of different colors. He pulled the pink on top of its pile. These are different from regular cards. He turned it over and showed it to the group. 0 plus 27 plus 0.4 equals question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Easy peasy, said Akimi. The answer is 27.4 because the 0 doesn't change the sum. Not math, said Miguel, but this isn't math. This is the Dewey Decimal System, and there's always 3 numbers to the left of the decimal point. We need to find a book with the call number 027.4, added Sierra. Fine, said Akimi, but I guarantee you this isn't a math book. The team made their way around the balcony, circling the Dewey Decimal doors. Here we go, said Miguel. He slid his library card into a reader on a door labeled the zeros. 0, 0, zeros. It's not like the hundreds, the zeros. Okay, said Miguel. In here we're going to find general knowledge. Almanacs, encyclopedias, bibliographies, books about library science. It's a science, said Akimi. Where do they keep the chemicals? In the library paste, joked Sierra, who was loosening up. She hadn't read one page of a book in hours. Found it, said Miguel, reaching up to pull a book off a shelf. 027.4. Man, it's old. Look how yellow these pages are. So what's the antique's title, asked Akimi. Get to Know Your Local Library by Amy Alessio, said Aaron Dowdy. Aaron Downey. I started saying his Dowdle's name. Miguel held the book so everyone could see the cover. It was illustrated with a cartoony-looking detective in a checkered hat who was holding up a magnifying glass to examine the books. Looks like a library guide for kids, said Miguel, opening the cover to read one of the inside pages. First publication was way back in 1952. He flipped through the few pages. It explains the Dewey Decimal System, contains a glossary of library terms, a brief history of libraries. He reached the back of the book. Awesome. What? asked Kyle, as he and the others moved closer to see what Miguel had found. It's an old-fashioned book slip from the Alexandriaville Public Library. The one that they tore down? Yep, and this card, tucked into a sleeve, glued into the back cover, comes from the olden days when they used to stamp the date on the books when the book was due and a grid that you had to fill your name under issued to. Okay, just so you guys know, it's not the old days. That's what libraries were like with Mrs. Freeman when I was growing up. Is that old? I wonder if this book has one. No. And look who checked this book out on May 26th, 1964. Kyle and the others looked. It was Luigi Lemoncello. Down on the first floor, Charles used his library card to open the door to the community meeting room A. Who is to have access to this room? Cooed a soothing voice from the ceiling. Me and my teammates, said Charles. Andrew Peckelman and Haley Daly. Thank you. Please have Andrew Peckelman and Haley Daly swipe their cards through the reader now. Both of them did. Thank you. Entrance to community meeting room A will be limited to those approved by the host, Charles Chiltington. Have a good meeting. Charles and his team entered the sleek, ultra-modern, white-on-white conference room. There were 12 comfy chairs set up with a glass-top table and a cabinet filled with to the top-of-the-line audio-visual equipment. You can write on the walls, said Andrew. They're like smartboards at school. Excellent. Not our smartboards. Aren't Promethean boards. Excellent, said Charles, clapping his hands behind his back and pacing around the room. Now, when we find all 12 pictograms and lay them out according to their position in the staff pics display case, they will create a rebus for a phrase that, I am quite certain, will tell us exactly how to exit this library without triggering any alarms. Therefore, it is time for all of us to lay our cards on the table. Haley nodded. She pulled out 2 more silhouettes of the back pocket of her jeans. I found one of these in a cookbook, she said. The other was in a juvenile fiction. Nancy Drew, The Mystery of the Lilac Inn. There was a blank note card in this drawer. There are blank note cards in this drawer, announced Andrew. Oh, gotta fix it. There are blank note cards in this drawer, announced Andrew. We should use them as placeholders for the books that we still need to find. They laid out a 3x4 grid of the cards on the tabletop. I'm going to give you a second to look at that and think if you're getting any ideas in your head. Somebody decided he wanted to come join us because he wants to hear what's going on in Mr. Lemoncello's library. Did you hear that? Here, I'll keep it like this so you can see it. Okay. Sheep need crosswalking sign. Baseball player need. House, Indiana. Football player need. What does it mean? Said Andrew. Ugh. What does it mean? Said Andrew. Simple, said Charles. It means we need to find the other 6 books. Chapter 31. So, does anybody have a clue as to why we were supposed to find this book? Asked Kyle. He and his teammates were back in the young adult room, staring at the cover of Get to Know Your Local Library. It's too early to tell, said Miguel. Let's keep playing. This book will probably make more sense once we go into the other rooms and pick up some more clues. Whose turn is it? I asked Akimi. Yours, said Kyle. Flick the spinner. Akimi finger kicked the plastic pointer. Purple, she yelled when the arrow slid to a stop. That's the 800s. That means you moved 8 spaces, mumbled Kyle. Except today, Akimi reached for the card on top of the purple stack. Except for today, Akimi reached the card on the top of the purple stack. When she saw what was written on it, she frowned. What's the clue? Asked Kyle. Something about literature, rhetoric, or criticism? Asked Miguel. Nope, said Akimi. It's a wild card with a riddle. Read it, said Sierra. I rhyme with dart and Cracker Jacks. Visit me and find a rhyme for Andy. Peckelman, said Kyle. How'd he get his name on a game card? Bro, said Miguel. Nobody calls Andrew Peckelman Andy. Of course it could mean Andrew Jackson, the 7th President of the United States. Marv hears some dogs barking. Or Andy Panda, said Akimi. Or Andrew Carnegie, said Sierra. He was a generous supporter of libraries. Okay, said Kyle. Let's concentrate on the first part of the riddle. What rhymes with dart and Cracker Jacks? Smart and heart attacks, suggested Miguel. Art and bric-a-bracs, asked Sierra. Art and artifacts, said Akimi, nailing it. They hurried over to the art and artifacts room. Everybody, check out the display cases, said Kyle. See if anything rhymes with the word Andy. Well, this model of the old bank building is certainly grandy, said Miguel. And the Pharaoh's pyramid and Sphinx would be sandy if they weren't made out of Legos. True, said Kyle, sounding unconvinced about both. Check it out, you guys, cried Akimi, who was studying a row of styrofoam heads sporting hats. This plaid fedora from 1968 was worn by a guy named Leopold Lablali. So, said Kyle, according to this plaque, Lablali was one of the notorious dandy bandits. Dandy rhymes with Andy. That it does, said Miguel. However, Loblolly does not. Neither does Leopold, said Kyle. Candy rhymes with Andy, said Sierra. She was staring at objects in a display case under a banner reading, Welcome to the wonderful world of Willy Wonka. Awesome, said Miguel, hurrying over to admire the collection of everlasting gobstoppers, glumptuous gobblers, Laffy Taffy, and pixie sticks displayed under glass in a sea of purple velvet. Mr. Lemoncello is a lot like Willy Wonka, said Kyle. That's what Alex said, that he reminds him of Willy Wonka. Awesome, said Miguel, hurrying over. Oops. Mr. Lemoncello is a lot like Willy Wonka, said Kyle. You mean he's crazy? Said Akimi. I prefer the term eccentric. And Dr. Zinchenko is his Oompa Loompa, said Sierra. Everybody started giggling. Nah, Akimi joked, she's too tall. And not nearly orange enough, added Miguel. The Willy Wonka book was written by Roald Dahl, and Sierra, who Kyle figured could name 12 other books the guy wrote too. In it, Mr. Wonka takes Charlie and Grandpa Joe home in a flying glass elevator that crashes through the roof of his chocolate factory. Everybody thought about that for a second. So now we have to find a glass elevator, said Akimi, because there isn't one on the floor plan. But Mr. Lemoncello is just wild enough to build one, said Kyle, and if he did, he probably wouldn't put it on the floor plan. No way, said Miguel. Everybody would want to ride on it. I know I would, said Sierra. So we're seriously searching for a secret glass elevator, said Akimi. Maybe, said Kyle, maybe not. This is just another piece of a gigantic jigsaw puzzle. We won't see the whole picture until we collect all of the pieces. Or someone shows us the box lid, cracked Akimi. Look, it's only 6 p.m., said Kyle. We're collecting a ton of good information. You mean a ton of random information, said Akimi. Well, said Miguel, once we have more clues, we can use Sherlock Holmes' famous deductive reasoning method to make logical connections between all of the random junk. Works for me, said Kyle, but if we're going to play Sherlock Holmes, we need to go spin that spinner and dig up more clues. The game's afoot, said Sierra. Huh? Kyle and Akimi said it together. Sorry, it's just something that Sherlock Holmes says to Watson whenever he gets excited. Sherlock Holmes. Kyle had just found another bunch of books to add to his reading list. Let's see. Bye.